This podcast is sponsored by Great Seminars and Books. I know what many of you are thinking. Why pay for a course when I can watch a PowerPoint presentation and get free CEUs through my employer? But how many times do you leave energized or equipped with the latest evidence and even a game plan for how to better serve your patients the next day? Check out Great Seminars and Books in one of their many courses ranging from total joint arthroplasty to comprehensive rehab strategies for the geriatric patient. See how you can get $25 off a live course by going to seniorrehabproject.com/great. Hit me.
This is a Senior Rehab Podcast, the podcast for rehab clinicians that want to better serve older adults.
Hello, Senior Rehab Podcast listeners. This is another episode of Shorts. I'm Tali Spaceman.
I'm Erin Carey.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, Tali.
Erin, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I heard that you found a really awesome article about virtual reality in older adults, and I'm quite excited about it.
I'm glad you're excited. I was excited. It was a whole week of just looking for right articles. Mm-hmm. I was very happy to see that there are more and more articles on VR and older adults.
Yes.
Because some people think, even clinicians, even older adults themselves think that virtual reality or any gaming is not something that it's their territory or they have nothing to do with it. Because, you know, there's a stigma about older people being a little bit technophobic.
Yes, definitely.
And then as a clinician, you're like, you know what, he's already going through a lot. Maybe we shouldn't be cumbersome and let them deal with something new or something that would make them feel insecure.
Absolutely.
Now, actually, other research, I'm not going to talk right now about the research I want to talk about.
Okay.
I will be very specific about when I'm starting to talk about that article. I just want a little bit of a background for what I found. Actually, the one thing that was proven to improve in virtual reality or exergaming, which is exercise and gaming.
Exergaming?
Exergaming.
That's a great word.
This is how they call it.
Ooh, all right, I'm going to remember that word. Thank you.
There's a consensus between studies about the positive motivational aspects in the use of exergaming in older people, which is us as PTs, part of our job is to be motivators.
Absolutely.
So this is a cool tool that exists since the 90s.
The 90s?
Since the 90s, there was research about video games in rehabilitation. Okay, so can we start to talk about the study?
Sure.
Okay. The study was published in SportsMed Journal in 2016.
Excellent.
The article name, Effects of Virtual Reality Training or Exergaming compared to Alternative Balance Exercise Training and Passive Control on Standing Balance and Functional Mobility in Healthy Community Dwelling Seniors, a Meta-Analytical Review. So what I liked about that one is they check two things that virtual reality is affecting on. One is the functional mobility.
Okay.
And one is the actual standing balance.
How do they measure functional mobility?
I'm really so happy you asked that. I'll get to that later about kind of inclusion and exclusion criteria.
That sounds good.
But if you want to know right now.
That's okay. We can go in whatever order you want.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
So the purpose was to examine and classify the effect of VRT or virtual reality training on full risk, relevant balance, performance, and functional mobility compared to AT, which is alternative training program, and inactive control group.
Okay, so it's virtual reality training, VRT, alternative training, AT, and then the control group is just the control group.
Because you need to have people that don't do anything. And they're all healthy adults, community dwelling.
Are they all older adults?
All older adults. It's funny because they at first, one of the inclusion criteria was 60 and above.
Okay.
In the end, it was something like 72 plus minus 5.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, a good sample of older adults.
Yeah, it was 76 plus minus 5. So it's all above 70.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's awesome because in my imagination, it's just a bunch of old people playing video games.
That paints a picture in my mind that makes me really happy.
All right. So they included both randomized and non-randomized controlled trials applying VRT as an intervention focus on improving standing balance performance and functional mobility. So standing balance was measured by either single and double leg stance with open and closed eyes.
Kind of like the balance error scoring system?
Exactly.
Okay.
And functional reach test.
Okay, nice.
And functional mobility was the Berg balance scale, the T-Neti, the time up and go.
Okay, great. That sounds like good, valid, reliable measures of functional mobility.
They are. It's the bread of butter of functional mobility.
Yes, indeed.
Inclusion criteria, which I liked about that because they knew what was good and what was not. They did include some things that were not as quality.
What do you mean?
In the end, they got into 18 randomized and non-randomized control trial in that review. One of the things that I liked, they were very, very aware of the limitations of some of the things they reviewed.
Okay.
So 8 of the articles had a Pedro score of 5 and down.
Okay.
And the rest had a Pedro score of 5 and up, which is more qualified.
Yes. Higher Pedro score means better quality.
Yeah. So inclusion criteria was full text published in English in a peer-reviewed journal, both randomized and non-randomized, and had a controlled intervention and a pre- and post testing.
Okay.
At least one control group did not receive an intervention or received comparative alternative exercise-based training program.
Right.
So it's either had exercise or just a control group or both. Actually, I like that about 3 of the articles here had one control group, one alternative training, and one VRT.
I see. So it's demonstrating doing nothing versus typical therapy versus VRT.
Yes.
And it's actually like, okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah, because with a control group, you're like, okay, I kind of know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I feel like with a lot of articles that I've read of trials, it's like the normal therapy versus this new therapy, and it's hard to tell where exactly the benefit comes from. So I think that's great.
Another thing was that the VRT was the target interventional strategy. And as we said about the outcome measurement, was standing balance or functional mobility outcome. And of course, 60 and above.
Yes.
There were exclusion criteria like mental illness, like any fall in the past year. I like that. I think it was a pretty good quality study, again, because they did realize what was not in a good quality.
Right.
Do you want to get a little bit to the results?
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, wait. Let me just make sure.
Do you have any questions?
So how many articles did they find?
They found... So
I guess, yeah. So yes, let's go to the results.
Okay, no. Let's go for how many... They found about 4,000 at first.
What?
But then, they took whatever had nothing to do with PT. Because when you type in virtual reality, a lot of things come up.
That's a good point.
From that, they took, whatever. They had duplicates, whatever. They had people that was not healthy seniors dwelling in the community that had other orthopedic issues, neurological issues, mental issues. And then they got to the 18.
So from 4,000 to 18.
Yes.
That sounds like a lot of reading.
It's mostly just, like after you take the duplicates out, it was 2,900.
How many people were reading, doing all this literature review?
They said it was 3 people.
What?
I don't believe it.
No, there have to be some grad students in there.
Oh, so many grad students. By the way, shout out to all the grad students who are doing all the scat work.
You make the research world go round. Thank you for all your hard work.
Do you want to go a little bit to the results?
Yeah, let's do it.
So what did you think happened versus the control group?
I think that virtual reality treatment improved functional mobility and standing balance.
And you would be correct. There was a meaningful effect in favor of VRT compared to control in both balance performance and functional mobility.
Great. Okay.
What did you think happened compared to the AT or alternative training?
This is the one that I'm honestly more excited about.
Of course.
Because I think, here's my guess, is that when using virtual reality and exergaming, the patients are going to be a lot more engaged than just like, all right, now let's stand on an RX pad and I'm going to push you, like the perturbations we talked about last shorts episode. So I think that the VRT demonstrated greater improvements.
You would be a little bit wrong.
No.
Yes, I'm sorry. By a little bit wrong, I would say wrong.
No, that's fine. This is fun.
There was a small overall effect in favor of the AT compared to VRT.
Wow.
In both standing balance and functional mobility, but they both had more effect, of course,
than the control.
Than control. They both had a meaningful effect. It's just that the AT had a little bit more significance.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm curious about how, like, specifically what exergaming exercises they used. Mm-hmm. I mean, if it's like a really boring, like, here's a circle and weight shift to put it in another circle, like, that's going to be dull.
So most of the research, and I'm so glad you said that. So there's, like, since my first year in, like, internships and my affiliation in school, I'm like, I'm never going to want to let an older person just move a cone from one place to another.
Right.
There's something, I saw something in their eyes that says this is a little bit demeaning.
Yeah.
You want to do something with purpose.
Yes, definitely.
So I definitely can understand why, stepping in and out of a circle, of course, we have to go from the basis up.
Right.
But something that would be more fun and more motivational.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to just weight shift. They want to weight shift in order to play soccer with their grandson.
Absolutely. Right. Like, there needs to be a purpose behind what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. So most of the studies use Wii, either the platform or the remote control.
Okay. Like the Wii balance board?
The Wii balance board.
Okay.
Some use the Kinects.
Yes.
And two use Dance Dance Revolution.
What? Like
yes.
the big arcade game.
Yes.
Okay. Did they, like, rent out time at the local arcade?
No, they have a home version for it, which is a carpet that you just...
like a pressure mat.
Yes, it's a pressure mat.
That sounds like fun.
It does. I don't know how... This research, both of them was more significance towards the AT.
Yeah.
One thing that I found interesting is whatever had a Pedro score of 5 and down tended to prefer the virtual reality more than the AT. It doesn't say anything. Yes.
Huh.
It doesn't say anything, but some things, like one of the things, and I read a little bit of what got a lower Pedro score. Mm-hmm. One article did not have inclusion and exclusion criteria.
Which is pretty important.
It is. Oh, I don't think they didn't have it. Somehow, maybe they didn't publish it.
Yeah, they might have just not included it in the manuscript.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will give them the benefits of the doubt. That,
sure.
They didn't take just random people.
They just found people and said, come here, research.
We'll give you cookies. And some used some other things that I didn't know what they meant. There was ones that used something called balance rehabilitation unit.
Balance rehabilitation unit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Me neither.
Okay.
So one of the things that I want to take from that review, which I think it's important, in conclusion, the VRT is slightly less effective than the AT.
In functional mobility and balance.
Yes.
Okay.
But it is still has a significant effect.
So it still works.
It still works.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to motivate people.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, like, they had found a way to measure the motivation or, like, the compliance of the subjects, if there would have been a difference with that.
So not in that article. I can put another link to another article where I got all the things in the intro for, just so you know that I didn't pull things out of
thin air.
Thin air. Thank you. Another thing that I think we should talk about is how we should probably involve both of them, both AT and VRT.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We have to work on functional things as well. Mm-hmm. We live in this reality and we need to function in this reality.
Yes, definitely.
So I definitely think, and that research and other has agreed that we need to combine both.
I think that's reasonable and more fun.
Yeah. I can't find myself doing a whole half an hour session with a patient just on a Weeboard or just in a Kinect or just anything else. We also have to work on transfers. We also have to work on actually carrying things from a grocery store.
Yeah.
I think it's a great complementary tool to PT. It makes practice activities within an enriched, secure, and challenging environment. And thereby, it favors motor learning and neuroplasticity.
I agree.
I'm all for it, but we have to realize it's not exactly the same as actual alternative training.
Cool. That sounds good. Well, thank you, Tali, for teaching me about virtual reality in older adults.
Thank you, Erin, for listening and asking very smart questions.
Oh, thanks. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find more at seniorrehabproject.com. And feel free to contact us. Our emails are in the show notes. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/seniorrehabproject. Do you want to say anything else before we say the ending?
Yes, I want to say thank you for listening and really write to us because we love to hear what you say.
Yeah, if you have any articles that really changed how you practice and that you want to hear us chat about, please email them to us. We love hearing from you guys. And as always, stay funky.
Hit me! Thank you for listening to the Senior Rehab Podcast. If you enjoy this content, I highly encourage you to go to seniorrehabproject.com where you can find more helpful episodes, lots of free resources, and to see how you can become a game changer and influence the direction of this movement. I appreciate you, and I'll talk with you soon. But in the meantime, do not forget to stay funky. This podcast is sponsored by Great Seminars and Books. I know what many of you are thinking. Why pay for a course when I can watch a PowerPoint presentation and get free CEUs through my employer? But how many times do you leave energized or equipped with the latest evidence and even a game plan for how to better serve your patients the next day? Check out Great Seminars and Books in one of their many courses ranging from total joint arthroplasty to comprehensive rehab strategies for the geriatric patient. See how you can get $25 off a live course by going to seniorrehabproject.com/great. This podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Geros Collective, a podcast network that's redefining old and equipping healthcare clinicians to better serve our aging population. Find out more at GEROScollective.com.